Hello, and welcome to another Cuz Bad Guys Tactical Breakdown. In this breakdown, we are going to go over Knight Models Batman Miniatures game, Red Hood Arkham Knight. This is probably my favorite model that they have made to date. Maybe because I just have a special place in my heart for Jason Todd, but the Red Hood, he is so cool, and this model with his silenced handguns, the static pose of just standing there being like, I'm a badass, so cool. This miniature is inspired by the Arkham Knight video game, and I've never played the video game because I just don't play video games, but I've read all of the comic books that the Red Hood is in. Under the Red Hood is great. The New 52 Outlaws is great. All around, just a great character, and let's go ahead and dive right on into his character card. So this is Jason Todd, Red Hood, Arkham Knight. Super awesome. He is a free agent for Batman, so can only be taken in a Batman crew, but he can be taken in a Teen Titans crew as well. And his weapons. So his weapons is he's got dual handguns that he can use both at range and in melee, which is awesome. His first, let's go over his ranged version. So it's a blood and a stun. It's rate of fire 4, so a ton of shots. Has ammo 3, so a lot of ammo. Is a firearm, so damages on a 2+, is short range, so has a range of 20 centimeters, and is light, so he can shoot it once in close combat. All around, very good gun. It is short range, but with his mobility, he can totally capitalize on this weapon. Let's cover dual handguns in melee. These are double stun with no special rules, so essentially he has reinforced gloves that are his handguns, so he's like pistol whipping guys with his silenced pistols. It's super awesome. And on to his stats. So he is willpower 6, which is pretty standard for a sidekick or a regular level free agent. I would want it to be a little higher, but that's just because I would want more out of this character because I think Jason Todd is super cool. So willpower 6 totally works for what you need him to do. Makes it so he can get around and do stuff. He is strength 4+, which is pretty standard for a free agent. Your average character outside of henchman is going to be strength 4+, so totally works on him. Strength 4+ is good. He is then movement 4, attack 4, defense 4, and endurance 7. So movement 4 on him, he is great. Like movement 4 is awesome on this character. He is probably one of the fastest characters in the game outside of speedsters, outside of people like the Flash or Kid Flash or Zoom. One of the fastest characters in the game for sure. Attack 4 and defense 4, both pretty solid for him. He is only going to be blocked on 4-ups in close combat, but the way I use this guy, I mostly just mow people down with his handguns, shooting at them, and it works really, really well. Defense 4, so people are only hitting him on 4s and 5s and 6s, which in Batman, that's pretty decent. He's also only going to be the way I use him, he only gets shot at, so being hit on 4s is pretty good. And then endurance 7. This guy, for a free agent, normally when you've got like willpower 6 and stuff like that, your endurance is only going to be 6. So I see it as he's actually got an extra endurance, and it makes him very, very good. So let's go on to his personal traits. So his first personal trait is going to be Acrobat. So Acrobat on this guy is amazing because he is movement 4. He can get where he needs to go. He can jump over people, he can jump over cars and all the different objects that are in the game. Just jump right over them. Acrobat also gives him dodge, so he can dodge bullets, and because he's movement 4, he actually dodges them on a 4 or lower, as long as he's got a movement counter, which is amazing, because this guy just sits at range and blast people. His other personal trait that really helps his movement and makes him very quick is the bat claw. So he can spend a move in a special and do a 30 centimeter move that has to be vertical. He's got to go from being on top of a car or onto the ground, or from the ground onto a building. You can't just scoot along the ground 30 centimeters. But other than that, it makes him really, really quick. So combining Acrobat and Bat Claw with Movement 4, super fast, super mobile character. His next personal trait is going to be the Bulletproof Vest, which makes him very, very good to sit at range. Combining this with his Acrobat, being able to dodge bullets, so those bullets that do hit you, they're only damaging you on a 4+ instead of a 2+. So the Bulletproof Vest really helps this guy out a lot. And then his last personal trait is going to be Scheming 1. So Scheming is during the Raise the Plan phase, you get to hold that many characters. So you get to hold one person out of your crew. If you raise the plan first and make your opponent raise their plan, and then that guy that you held back, so say you held the Red Hood, you would be able to plan him after your opponent plans. Scheming is a lot of fun. It's a tricksy little thing to do in the game. And the Batman crew doesn't really have a lot of scheming in it, and this character provides that for them. Really good. So let's go on to personal traits. So personal traits, he's got Teamwork 1 all, which means during this model's turn or his activation, this model can use one action counter from a named friendly model with teamwork within 10 centimeters as if it was their own. This is really, really good because in the Flash and Green Arrow expansion, the Batman crew got a new equipment that lets a cop or a henchman get teamwork. And the way I use this, I'll talk about this more in the strategy the way I use this guy, but teamwork, it's really, really good on him. So his second special trait is going to be Takedown. So for one special, when this model makes another character KO with an attack, he may spend one special to immediately make the target casualty. So this is something that the Batman crew, making people that they knock out, making them casualtied, it's one of the things that the Batman crew struggles with. And taking this Red Hood makes it so you can bypass having to arrest people. So he can shoot somebody down and they just get KO'd, but then he can spend a special and essentially arrest them at range. But it's cheaper, so instead of costing a move in a special, it's just the special. So Takedown, super awesome on this character. And then his last special trait is going to be Safe Hands. This character is immune to the still effect. So that means that if the Red Hood has somebody attack him that has the steal trait, they can't steal his guns, so his dual handguns can never be stolen. And then also, if he's ever holding a loot counter, somebody can't run up to him like Catwoman, can't run up to him and steal the loot from him. They have to actually knock him out for him to drop it and take it from him. Safe Hands isn't something that you bank on or want somebody to have, but it's a very useful trait to just have on a card. So let's go on to his reputation. So his reputation is 88 points, and then his funding is $500. So reputation 88 is quite a bit. It's a bit more than most of the other sidekicks outside of Nightwing. The other Robins are going to be 50 to 70 points, but Jason Todd, this guy, the stats that he brings, the abilities that he brings with Takedown, totally worth it. And then his funding is $500. And initially when I saw this guy, I thought $500 was a lot, but with the way that he uses his dual handguns at range, totally worth it, because he can combine his super movement to get in that sweet spot that he's covering objectives or covering an alley that an opponent is going to have to run through. They've got to run the gauntlet, and this guy can just put tons of shots on people. So I think his reputation and funding is worth it as long as you can get the utility out of this guy. Like, use him to his full potential, you'll get your points. But if you just have him go after a loot counter and run off with it, you are not capitalizing on what you can do with this guy. So strengths and weaknesses for this guy. So let's go over strengths. Strengths is going to be definitely his mobility. He's super quick with acrobat in the back claw and movement 4. Super duper fast. His handguns are also a really good strength because he's doing double stun in close combat, and he's doing blood stun with rate of fire 4 at 20 centimeters. So a chain gun, essentially, he shoots a ton of times. Takes down henchmen very, very easily. And then takedown. It's an awesome ability, and I'll go over that when I talk about the way I use him. So weaknesses. Weakness is going to be that he's strength 4+. Kind of can let you down sometimes. I'm really hesitant to throw this guy into close combat just because of how good he is to shoot at people. I generally only do it if I have somebody super fail. Like if I have Nightwing jump in and Nightwing doesn't knock him out and does next to nothing, then sometimes I'll send Red Hood in, but I kind of won't put this guy into close combat just because he's only strength 4. And then his other letdown is his willpower, because he's only willpower 6. I wish he could have more willpower, but he can to an extent because of teamwork. But you've got to take very specific characters, so you've got to take other Arkham Knight models like Arkham Knight Batman or Arkham Knight Tim Drake. But the new Flash and Green Arrow expansion really helped out with this, with that equipment that a cop can take to give them teamwork. It really, really helps Jason Todd out a lot. So the way I use this guy on the table, sometimes I'll make him do a beeline for the loot, go grab it because it can't be stolen from him, and then have him handgun people down after that. Put him in a turret spot and just sit there and shoot at guys, make them run the gauntlet. That's how I used to use him. Now I don't have him go after loot. I actually just have him handgun people down and get points that way. And he's actually really efficient with it. And I also combo him with a cop, the fat cop that has the lantern. And I do this because I give that cop a whistle, and I also give him teamwork. And I'll have that cop run up behind Jason Todd and flip his lantern on so he can whistle people and have them not be able to spend movement counters. But then I also do it because it lights up Jason Todd, so random shooters that they have can shoot at Jason Todd, and it's essentially a trap because he's movement 4 with dodge, he's defense 4, and he's an acrobat with a bulletproof vest. So not only do they have a 50% chance of missing, he has a 66% chance of dodging it, and then they only have a 50% chance of damaging him as long as they're a firearm. If it's a beam weapon or something, then that'll ignore the bulletproof vest. But for the most part, it's for those deadly assault weapons that you don't, those deadly assault rifles that you don't want targeting your cops. Because if those assault rifles go after your cops are gonna go down hard. The way I use the teamwork combo is with a special counter or a movement counter. So if Jason Todd runs out of movement to being able to dodge bullets, he can use teamwork from the cop and use the cop's movement counter. And then if I have Jason Todd shoot somebody, I usually don't leave a special counter in there because I need them for movement. And I'll leave a special counter in the cop's special, and then I'll use the special if I shoot somebody with Jason Todd and I knock him out, and then with teamwork I'll use the special from the cop and then use takedown and take down whoever I shot. It's really, really effective and works really well. So let's go ahead and go on to the paint job that I have for this guy. So here it is. I had him, I did his classic colors, but then instead of the brown jacket or the black jacket, I gave him a white jacket because I really wanted him to pop out. He's like a great centerpiece to have for a crew, and I really like running him. I like running him with anyone from James Gordon to Batman to Nightwing. Have him run, because he's a free agent, he can't be your leader for the crew. So I'll run him with those guys and then run him with a ton of cops, with like the SWAT team, all of that stuff. It's a ton of fun. I just started using him as a Teen Titan, and he really excels in there too, because Teen Titans don't have a way to arrest or any of that stuff, and Jason Todd, this Red Hood, is really good with his takedown, being able to casualty characters, because heroes usually have a hard time doing just blood. And that's it for Jason Todd, and remember, 'cause bad guys.